My name is Robert Pope. I'm the Chief Geologist at publicwatchdogs.org. And the reason we're here today is Southern California Edison and SDG&E together are creating the largest nuclear waste dump, beachside nuclear waste dump in North America behind us. And this started last Wednesday. Well, actually, it started years ago, but the actual movement of the waste started last Wednesday. And as we're speaking, cylinders of waste, cylinders that are only 5/8 of an inch thick, yet may weigh as much as 100,000 pounds, that are full of high-level nuclear waste, are being moved into the storage facility that they constructed at beach level, just behind a broken seawall that's 50 years old. And the reason I contend that it's being built in that location and not at any of the other locations that are higher elevation and better protected from shoreline erosion and tsunami risk is because the place where they are burying the waste is the former footprint of reactor number 1. There's a long history of incidents at reactor number 1 that you can find documented with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Contamination from reactor number 1 still exists beneath the ground surface over there, over my shoulder. And Edison is required to do a cleanup. Right now, their current plan is to only clean up the upper 10 feet of soil and leave any contamination greater than 10 feet in place. That's what John Paul Masano from Edison said is their strategy for the cleanup. But by placing a nuclear waste dump on top of the most contaminated area of the property, it makes it so that portion of the property is inaccessible for cleanup. And then if you look at the paperwork that Edison submitted to the California Coastal Commission in 2015 to get the permit from the California Coastal Commission to bury the waste, they actually confess on pages 30 and 31 of the geology that the land behind me is going to be eroded away by ocean action. And they say they're going to move the waste from the storage locations or dump location before that erosion occurs. Now, why would this be? This is because Edison, I believe, does not want to clean up reactor number 1. They want to have Mother Nature clean up reactor number 1 by washing it all into our ocean and exposing the people that use our beaches and the benthic organisms that are struggling for life out in the ocean to all the radiation rather than paying for the cleanup themselves. So, where could they have put this waste instead of making the biggest beachfront dump in North America? There's a lot of places they could have put it. Edison leased a lot of land in this area. Some of those leased lands have already been returned to the Navy. Why did they return it to the Navy or the Marine Corps when it was inland? It was on the east side of the freeway, on the east side of one of the largest and most important rail corridors in North America. It was in a place where it was away from ocean action and shoreline erosion. Why not bury it over there? And they have arguments like, oh, the canisters that we store it in are so big we couldn't be able to move it over there. Yeah, that's because they bought the largest, cheapest canisters and they overstuff it with 37 fuel rod assemblies. If we moved fuel rod assemblies the same way our US Navy moves fuel rod assemblies, we could have moved all of those assemblies to dry storage on the other side of the freeway. But that's not what Edison wanted. Edison wanted it to be buried on top of their number 1 most expensive unit for cleanup so they don't have to clean it up. So that's why we have a beachfront nuke dump, and we could have had it over on the other side of the freeway. We could have had it transported over there, 1 or 2 or 3 fuel assemblies at a time, and transported into dry casks. We could have set up all kinds of engineering solutions to put it in a safer environment. We didn't, because it cost too much and it didn't cover them from the ability to avoid the responsibility of the problems they've already caused. If we could interrupt the process going on behind me, the burial of spent fuel in thin-walled canisters, and introduce a better option starting today, what we could do is we could create a similar storage facility that's above grade and at least 80 feet above sea level on a portion of the bluffs that's determined to be most geologically stable and most well protected. And we could store the spent fuel in dry casks that are 10 inches thick or 20 inches thick. And we could put fewer spent fuel assemblies in each of those casks and have more casks. And we could also build a storage building over the top of it that can serve as secondary containment in case something should occur, and serve as an ability to shield where the locations of the specific canisters are from the public for security purposes, to protect us from terrorist attack. There's a lot of solutions, and that's just one that we could start doing right now to get the materials off the beach on higher ground and in safer storage canisters.